Next up is John Herring, who is the co-founder and CEO of Lookout, and Martin Bryant, the managing director of the LeWeb. They're coming with news with Paul-François Fournier, who is the EVP of the Techno Center of Orange. Let's see what they're using. How are you doing? Sorry, yeah, I can check your head.
Good to see you.
Welcome. Good to see you all.
Yeah, OK, so before we begin, me and John are going to have a chat shortly, but first of all, there is an announcement.
Absolutely. So Lookout will be announcing today a strategic partnership with Orange, which we're incredibly excited about. Our mission is to become the information security company of the post-PC era. We have 30 million people around the world using our technology. We now have a footprint of 160 million users that we can further accelerate our growth through. And not just from a distribution perspective, Orange has actually become a strategic investor with Lookout, which is going to enable us to not only distribute our products, but start working together to build new products moving into the future.
Yeah, we are with John very excited because it's really, you know, when we started a few months ago to look at the question of security, more and more smartphone, open platform, our customers were asking what is the best solution. So we look at the market. And finally, we found Lookout, and Lookout is really the best user interface, very simple. So it's really what we want for our customer. We want really to give to 200,000 customers the ability to secure their smartphone. And that's why we're very, very happy about this partnership. As John said, it's not only, I would say, distribution, it's much more than that. We have working on roadmap. We want to increase the security of data jointly together to secure in this marvelous world of internet, nevertheless, the device and the ability to find it easily and all those funny stuff.
OK, and as well as your deal with a startup here, you also have some other startup activity that you'd like to make an announcement about.
Yeah. You know, for us, the partnership with startup is more and more important in this world. So I'm very happy today, en avant-première, to announce a major startup competition on the 4G and fiber. We really want to find new services that will leverage 4G and fiber in the coming months and year. So we are launching this competition. We will call it FAST. We'll roll out all this year, and we will support strongly with money, of course, but with also the Orange support, as we do with Lookout, the development of those 4 winners of this FAST competition. So I'm sure we'll come back next year there with the winner, but today it's the Lookout day. So.
Well, Paul-François Fournier, Orange Chief Product Officer, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you, John.
Okay. It's very comfy seats, aren't they? Indeed. Very nice. Just sit and watch this lot. OK, well, John, great to speak to you. You mentioned the deal there. Congratulations on the deal with Orange there. A big thing for you, I imagine. So for anyone who's maybe not familiar with Lookout, could you tell us a bit about what you do?
Yes. So Lookout is building technology designed to give users confidence to do more with their mobile devices. The smartphone has absolutely become the most personal computer, and it's only becoming more personal. It knows more about you than maybe anything in your life. It knows where you are, who you talk to, has access to your banking information. And it's more important than ever to keep it safe. So, you know, Lookout was founded by a group of hackers inspired by understanding of the threats in the mobile ecosystem, and with the goal of building very simple technology with a positive focus on enabling people to do more.
OK, so what kind of services do you offer then?
Yeah, so when you look at how consumers use their devices, the problems tend to exist relative to the user experience and relative to behavior. So for example, downloading of mobile applications, ensuring that there's not malware, spyware, as well as privacy issues related with those mobile applications. Ensuring a safe browsing experience, so preventing phishing from taking place. And then more simple and practical features, which are foundational, like data backup in the cloud, enabling you to protect your data, migrate your data to a new device if it's lost or stolen, and ultimately to prevent a device from being lost or stolen by enabling a user to locate it.
Okay, now you mentioned there that the company was founded by a group of hackers. What's the story there? Is it black hats turned good, or?
No, we're all security researchers, and have been interested in security for most of our lives. James, Kevin, and myself, the founders of the company. And my definition of a hacker is really someone who's curious about systems, how systems work, and try and do something with that system that may be beyond what the creator of the system intended to happen. We all got our start spending time at the DEF CON hacker conference, if you've heard of it, and actually found some very interesting security vulnerabilities in Bluetooth that allowed us to take control of the phone, pull information off of it, activate the camera, do some very interesting things with the device. And as we saw that, and saw the shift happening, in the importance of smartphones and tablets in the context of computing, we were inspired to leverage the knowledge we had around security issues and actually start building technology to solve those problems.
Okay, so I mean, when I think of mobile security, the first thing that comes to mind is those antivirus apps that you see on the App Store and you see bundled with phones sometimes that sometimes I think feel a bit unnecessary because it doesn't feel like we're bombarded with viruses. So how big a deal is mobile security?
Yeah, I think that most of the companies you're referring to are really PC-oriented security companies trying to migrate what they've built on the desktop into a mobile device. And the fact is we're in the post-PC era and the world's a very different place. We focus on solving real user problems. So when you think about a user's data is incredibly important and being able to back up and restore that. It's amazing the number of devices that are lost and stored, millions and millions per year. We enable users to solve that. And then things like security issues are a growing concern. One of the more gray areas, though, is privacy. And mobile applications via API access to the platforms, whether it be iOS or Android, are able to do more and more. And privacy is something that isn't always a forward thought for developers. And there may be cases where users' privacy can be compromised in a way that's very uncomfortable to the user, but there's no awareness of that problem. We're seeing that more and more. In a great example, we saw a wallpaper application that was grabbing access to your IMEI, IMSI, and voicemail number, in certain cases, your voicemail password, and sending 4.4 million people had that information sent to a server in China, unbeknownst to them. That was a surprise to them. We can bring transparency to that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I was looking at the mobile security report for 2012 on your website, and malware was one of the significant things you mentioned there. Now, how big is a problem is malware on mobile at the moment?
I mean, we're blocking massive amounts of threats, on a monthly basis from a web threat and actual mobile application threat perspective. What I will say is the sky's not falling by any means, and our goal is to solve the problem, to try and attack the problem and prevent it from becoming a large one. What we are seeing, though, is attackers are migrating to the platforms that people are using, which is mobile computing. It's smartphone and tablets. And we've seen examples of real malware causing real damage, whether it be information threat or theft of money, for example. But it's nowhere near the size of the PC threat yet. Right. And the goal is to make sure that that doesn't happen.
And isn't it the job of the App Store owners to make sure that their app stores and the apps they offer are secure and are not malware? Because I would have thought that it'd be very difficult for malware to spread on mobile because of the fact that most people just download from the App Store that's bundled with their phone.
It's interesting. It depends on what part of the world you're in. So in the US, for example, the primary app stores, whether it be Apple's App Store or Google Play, are the primary distribution points. However, we're seeing more and more a shift to different areas. So downloading applications via the web or downloading applications via third-party markets, for example, which has changed the dynamic. I absolutely agree. It's important to have a safe experience when you download applications, and we're seeing companies who own app stores take that more and more seriously. At the same time, we're finding user behavior shift where the download footprint is much broader, and so it's important to have a holistic strategy where you're not only protecting the app store level, but at the device level itself. And
I mean, you're not just about viruses, malware, all those kind of things. It's security in a very broad sense at Lookout. So that includes things like if you've lost your phone, that kind of thing. So what area are you finding is the most in-demand part of your business?
Yeah, I think users generally, it's a very qualitative thing, have a deep emotional tie with their device. And having software that enables them to protect themselves from a host of different issues is generally what we found is driving most of the demand. we focus on solving user problems. So a great example of something we've seen, people are losing their phones like crazy, and if they don't have Lookout on their device, we had users asking, well, how can we find it? We actually built a very cool app, kind of leveraging the unique open nature of Android, called Plan B, that allowed us to locate a lost or stolen phone after it had been lost or stolen. So using the web market to remotely install the application, it would then email you, on a time interval about every 15 minutes, the location, a map of your device so you could find it. 600,000 people have used that to find their lost or stolen phone. And that's an example of the types of things we're focusing on and that are driving a lot of the demand that we're seeing.
Okay, and in terms of competition, certainly the established PC security companies have started to move onto mobile in a serious way. How do you intend to stay ahead of them?
Yeah, I mean, when I think about traditional PC security companies, I mean, how many people do you meet who are like, I'm so psyched I have Norton or McAfee on my computer. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I mean, traditionally, what people think of is something that slows down your machine and is scaring you into having protection. We have 30 million people and growing around the world using our service, and are one of the top applications in the entire mobile ecosystem. That's been driven by a focus on solving real problems and attention to user experience in a positive way. So we're here to help people, not to scare them, and to be pragmatic about that. That's what's driven it, and then we're seeing an acceleration through strategic partnerships as well, like with Orange. So when we think about Lookout's focused on how do we get to 100 million users and beyond, not only driving user demand through app stores, but partnering with mobile operators enables us to achieve that much faster. So I think the biggest competition we have right now is non-consumption, making people aware that they can protect themselves, and fulfilling that demand versus someone choosing to use a traditional player versus us.
And you mentioned other partnerships there. So apart from Orange, who else do you partner with?
So we have strategic partners all around the world. Orange is a major strategic partner and an entry partner for us in Europe. We've also announced a partnership with Deutsche Telekom, which has been incredibly powerful for us. T-Mobile US, Sprint. We have a host of different partners around the world, and that's growing very rapidly.
Okay, well, moving beyond mobile then, the Internet of Things is a big theme here at LeWeb this year. How does security fit into that? Because I imagine with so many devices coming online for the first time, new kinds of hardware that can do all sorts of really interesting things, there's huge opportunity for hackers there.
Yeah, the Internet of Things is fascinating. I've been, for the last week or two, testing out the new Jawbone Up, which is an amazing device, and I think kind of representative of the future in Internet of Things. It's wearable computing, and it's calculating my, my health data and my sleep and things of that nature. But when I think about the Internet of Things, the center of gravity still is the primary computing experience, which is the smartphone or the tablet, right? So even though this is providing a function and it's very seamless, I'm still using my mobile device to synchronize and access an interface with the data. Or earlier I heard someone talk about the Nest, which is a fantastic device, also representative of the Internet of Things. You still primarily interact with that through your smartphone from a measurement perspective, if you will. So the data still is resident on the device, and that's where the center of gravity is for us. We also think about the network a lot more over time, and think about how do we extend our services through things like an API. We have something called the Lookout API that network operators or infrastructure providers who are the backbone of the Internet of Things can leverage to enable security in the post-PC era.
Okay, and I suppose if devices like a thermostat, for example, imagine if your thermostat was targeted by hackers and they turned up that temperature in your house on a really hot day or whatever. It could be pretty bad. Do you think do you think there is a big market there for a company maybe like Lookout to step in and provide Internet of Things security?
No, I think that it's less about Internet of Things security and more that the amount of information, the importance of that information on your mobile device is only going to increase over time. Practically speaking, I'm not sure if hackers really care about what temperature it is in someone's house, but I do think that they care about stealing money. I think they care about stealing people's personal information. And as more and more becomes connected, it becomes more important. We think a lot about mobility in the context of being critical infrastructure. And if that critical infrastructure can be threatened, what does it mean? My only communications experience, I don't have a home phone, is my mobile device. So I depend on it to live, to communicate, and to do business. And we find that component of the future in the Internet of Things where Lookout's going to reside.
Okay, so we're drawing towards the end of 2012 now. What does 2013 look like for your company?
Yeah, so 2012 was all about building a foundation and a platform. You know, we grew very rapidly to over 30 million users. You know, a year ago we were primarily, a group of engineers in San Francisco. We now are hundreds of people and growing very rapidly. We're establishing a global footprint, so we're actually in the process of opening an office here in Europe as well as in Japan and Asia. So 2013 is going to be about taking that foundation, that product foundation, and accelerating the growth. And really representative of what I told you, which is how do we get to 100 million users? How do we continue to become the information security company of the post-PC era that people can trust and that actually feel that is the advocate for them?
Is there a particular part of the world that is more mobile security conscious at the moment? Or is there any areas of the world you're targeting more?
I mean, I'd say that it's a pretty universal concern. In terms of the threat landscape, statistically speaking, the majority of threats we see are authored in either China or Eastern Europe. And it's fascinating. You know, it's not as large as our footprint in the US, for example, but in places like China or in places like Russia, of people who download our product, anywhere between 10 and 30% of those people actually already have malware on their device when we first are installed. So it's just a very different ecosystem, and I would say the Wild West in many ways.
Okay, and in terms of 2013, not for the company, but for mobile security more generally, are there any particular threats we should be particularly aware of that may be growing next year?
I think as mobile payments start to become more important, you know, bad guys are going to turn their attention to stealing money at a greater level. We saw that with premium SMS fraud, and that was probably one of the top classes of attacks that we've seen in the last 12 months. And I think very, elemental human things like losing your phone or like dealing with data issues will continue to be a big problem. And as people put more and more data, the magnitude of loss becomes even greater. So for us, it's watching the threats, monitoring the threats, using our global threat network to stay ahead of them, and then focusing on the practical as well, like lost and stolen phones and data backup.
And you are obviously working in the mobile industry. What's exciting you more broadly in the industry right now?
Yeah, I mean, the Internet of Things is absolutely fascinating to me. I think one of the most interesting products I've seen recently is the Jawbone Up, and it's because of what it's representative of. 10 years ago, broadband internet was not very pervasive, globally speaking. Today, the broadband internet is everywhere. It's pulsing through the air. And the number of connected devices, soon to be numbering tens of billions and beyond, is upon us. What is that going to mean from a platform perspective? What is it going to mean as apps have access to other sensors and other types of data? And what does that mean for consumers? And that's really, really exciting to me. So things beyond just mobile apps and mobile applications and the types of products we're used to, but things that touch the more physical world and touch our lives.
Okay, well, it has been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. John Herring from Lookout. Thank you.
Thank you very much.